Okay, hey, my name is Abby and I'm a senior here at Precise Central High School, and I was in the Honors Mentorship Program this year. And through the Honors Mentorship Program, it pretty much is, it gets you mentorships around the county and around the school. It doesn't really matter where you want to go. There's people in law, there's people in teaching, there's people in medical field. So it kind of just depends on what you're looking to do in the future. So what I did is I focused mine on the medical side of it. And my mentorship was at Northside Hospital, and we did different rotations within the hospital, so we weren't on the same thing the whole 9 months we were there. So we did 3 rotations, 3 months at each rotation, and the first rotation I was on 8 Tower, which is a post-op floor. And I pretty much just followed nurses around, went in with the nurses when they gave the patients meds, they took care of the patients, got them whatever they needed, and kind of just got an idea of how a floor nurse works. The next floor I was on was 5 Central, which is also a post-op floor, but it was more kind of based on cardiac, so it was a little bit different. There was a little bit different things that they did on that floor, but it was pretty much the same thing as the first. But my third floor, the one I'm currently on, is surgical services. And within that floor, I rotate between 4 different parts of surgical services, and there's about 8 total, but there's only some I can go in, some I can't. And the 4 are, I go in pre-op, I go in ERU, I go in the OR, and I also go in PACU. And they're kind of just different areas of surgical services, but it's really cool to see the different parts of the hospital. So it's a really cool program to be in. So for this class, we had to do a capstone project, and that's what I'm showing you guys here, and we needed to base it off an essential question. So my essential question was, how does bedside manner affect the outcome of a patient within the hospital? So that's kind of pretty much what I based my project on, and when I was at the hospital, I was constantly looking for kind of the answers, always observing how these nurses and how these PCTs and doctors kind of interacted with their patients to kind of get all the information I could for this project. So for my research, the first thing I want to talk about is kind of how I came up with what essential question I picked. So when I was younger, I was always in hospitals, and I've always kind of grown up wanting to also help other people in the medical field somehow I can. So I would like to one day in the pediatric side of medicine, wherever that takes me. So that's pretty much what got me to where I am at Northside, and last year I did Showa, so that's what kind of drew me toward the medical field. And I picked kind of bedside manner because since I rotate so much at the hospital, I wanted to pick something where it was universal enough that wherever I was at the hospital, it still was something that was going on all the time. So that's why I picked my central question based on bedside manner. So during my first day on the floor, on the pre-op floor, I honestly had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was scared I was going to be in the way of everything, kind of just nagging. I'm a little shadow following someone around, and I was just worried that I was going to be in the way, and I didn't know how to help, how to just make their lives easier. But after kind of just asking them a bunch of questions, what I can do, what I can't do, and just kind of seeing how they run the floor, it really kind of opened my eyes up about the medical field and how the hospital works, which was really cool. But based on bedside manner, I was definitely able to see right out the gate on my first day how these nurses kind of interacted with their patients, because, well, you can, it was obvious to see what patients were more patient, which were not, and how those nurses interacted, or how they adapted to what the patient needed, or how they, I don't know how to say it, like, how they kind of just took the situation and made the best out of it based on the patient, because some patients were obviously better than others. But, and it was different for every nurse how they handled each patient. So it was really cool for me to see, based on the nurse, based on the PCT, how they handled situations, and kind of put in perspective how I can handle them, what works better for one nurse than another nurse. So it was really cool to see. And outside of asking questions at my mentorship, I also just did a little research based on statistics and all that, kind of seeing how the outcomes of patients and how like the nurse rate for just better nurses, better acting nurses was for different hospitals. And it was a significant thing about how better nurse quality and better PCT quality, there were higher rates for patient success within the hospitals. So that was very interesting to see, and it was very cool because I got to see that firsthand also, because Northside Hospital really does have a good nursing and PCT staff. So within all my research, I actually also did a interview with one of the nurses on the floors, and this wasn't on the 8-tower floor, this was on 5 Central. So I interviewed one of the nurses on that floor. So some of the questions I asked was like, I asked like, what kind of personality traits are most effective for nurses to have? And this particular nurse said, in my opinion, the personality traits that make nurses most effective are patience, compassion, and attention to detail. So it was kind of interesting to see what her answer was, and I actually did ask another nurse also just to kind of see like if their answer kind of compared to that same nurse's answer, and it did. So it was cool to see how nurses all kind of think the same way about those kind of things. So also with my research, I had to look up articles that kind of backed up my capstone project. So the first article I found was about how getting the trust of the patient between the nurse and the patient was really key for good bedside manner and patient outcomes. So this article basically talked about how with gaining trust, like if you don't have trust with your patient and you as a nurse are trying to get their answer about what hurts or how bad does it hurt, and they just don't trust you to tell you that information, that patient's just not gonna end up doing well because they don't trust their nurse to take care of them as well as they need to be. So trust was a huge thing about bedside manner for the nurse, to get the patient's trust right out of the gate, to be super open, super friendly, just be happy-go-lucky person as soon as you meet them, to get that trust and get that bond with them right when you meet them. So my second annotated bibliography was about how like you present yourself to your patient. So it was really important for this article talking about how you look, how you just look presentable. Like don't look like a hot mess when you go in to treat a patient, because if you walk in or the nurse walks in to treat you and you're looking at them like, I don't really want them to treat me because they're not really taking care of themselves. So how do I trust them to take care of me? So that's a big thing about just how you present yourself, what your attitude is. So that's basically what this article was about trying just how the bedside manner works. That is also a big key factor for nurses. And my third article was kind of an overall view of bedside manner, just how crucial it is for patient outcomes and how patients end up in the hospital. And it actually, the better they are, the sooner they go home and the better they recover. So this was just an overall article just going over all the things that were talked about in previous articles to kind of back up what my essential question was talking about. So those were my annotated bibs. And the other thing that we did was the blog. So throughout the year, you will do assignments and you will do updates based on how you're doing at your mentorship. And so these are just questions about what we do and how our mentorship is going. So it's just updates like that. But overall, with my essential question, I pretty much just got to see like firsthand experience of how crucial bedside manner is, because I saw how if some nurses obviously didn't have as good as bedside manner, I saw how that affected the patient, and it was just not a good thing because the charge nursing gets involved and it's a whole big thing with the family and stuff. So just bedside manner is really crucial for the patient and the outcome of the patient. So that is what my capstone was about. So thank you.